In this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step on how to set up your first Pinterest advertising campaign the right way, going through both campaign, ad group, as well as ads. It's really not that complicated, so let's go ahead and get into it. So step one is you'll need to log into your Pinterest business account, okay? Once you're there, in the top left corner, go to the ads dropdown, and then click on create ad because we want to create a new ad. And once we do that, what Pinterest will ask us to do is choose an objective, right? Which, if you remember, is kind of the purpose of the campaign section, is to select an overall objective as well as an overall budget. So for our objective, I recommend in general starting off with traffic. Now, if you may be thinking, you may look over here at conversions, and I've actually had a few questions from students about this. Specifically, hey Sumner, I want to drive some more sales on my Shopify or WooCommerce website. Shouldn't I optimize for conversions because I want people to buy and convert more than just generating traffic? Yes, but only if you're generating enough sales. So if you have the Pinterest tag installed on your website, then you can optimize for conversions, but I really recommend getting at least 50 sales per day consistently before you start optimizing for conversions, because Pinterest is going to use that data that's kind of generated in your Pinterest tag for the conversion data. So just kind of keep things simple. To start things off, go ahead and select traffic. And just because you select traffic does not mean that you're only going to get clicks and no sales or no results from your advertising efforts. It's just kind of a good base, and it works whether you have your conversion tracking set up or not, okay? And the last thing is, if you do have your conversion tracking set up with your website and you use traffic as the objective, you're still able to track sales, okay, and optimize for sales. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. Just hopefully that makes sense. Just go ahead and select traffic. For your campaign name, we'll go ahead and name the campaign whatever it is that you like. Like I mentioned, you should have two base campaigns. One should be for interests, the other one should be for keywords. So we're just going to do example campaign. Let's do keywords, right? Just keep it simple. Maybe name it something like that. Or if you have specific products that you're advertising, then maybe it's like product X keywords. Okay, so we're just going to keep it as it was. Next, we can either choose a daily spend limit or a lifetime spend limit, or it could also be both. I recommend a daily spend limit, and I recommend getting started with at least $5 a day. I usually start with somewhere around $10 to $20 a day, usually for both of my campaigns. But again, it depends on your objectives, and that's really up to you to decide. There is no right or wrong. It depends on your objective. So I'll go ahead and enter in 10. Campaign status, we want to make sure it's active because we want it to be active. So once we do that, we'll go ahead and hit continue. The campaign section is really, really easy and straightforward. Next, we're going to be naming our ad group. Okay, so this could be, so what is this? This is our keyword. So I might name it the same thing. So it could be like example keywords. Sorry, it's lagging a little bit. If this was my, let's say, because remember we have two different campaigns that we're setting up, our keywords and our interests. If this was the interest campaign that I was setting up, then maybe I would have example and I would name this specific interest. So maybe, like we said before, for the example, maybe it's like baby food would be our example for the specific interest. So that way, when I go to my campaign and I look at the different ad groups, I can quickly see, okay, this targeting is for the baby food interest. This one is for, baby monitor interest. This one's for baby gear interest, or whatever it might be. Okay, so that's usually that's kind of how I'll name it specifically for the interests campaign. So it's baby food. For audience, you can create a new audience. If you have the conversion tracking set up, you can actually start targeting or retargeting people who visit or take specific actions on your website. Okay, so if you already have the Pinterest tag set up on your website, you've already been generating sales. This can be a really great option for you to basically you can use this for retargeting. But for a lot of people, and the vast majority of people watching this, that is not the case. So we'll just kind of skip over that. But if you're already running advertising, especially Facebook ads or other advertising platforms, you should be familiar with this and pretty straightforward. If you'd like me to make a video, let me know about that specifically. But we'll just kind of keep it simple. And here we go. Then we get to the interest section. So if you're setting up a keyword campaign, leave this blank. Skip over this. If you're setting up an interests campaign, then you will want to go through this. So we'll go ahead and go through this, pretending like we're setting up our interests campaign. So again, just making this up, let's say that we are selling baby products. And then what we want to do is, or we're selling a specific baby product, then we want to target people who would be interested in our specific baby product. And with each ad group, we're only selecting one specific interest. What a lot of people do is they'll go through and they'll be like, parenting, right? Because parents of babies, right? So I want to target parenting, okay? No, that is wrong, okay? You want to be as hyper-focused and as specific as possible, because the broader you target, you're going to show your pin to a bunch of people who aren't interested and ultimately waste money. Or they might be just somewhat interested or accidentally click or whatever it might be, and you'll waste your money per click. Okay, so I don't recommend doing that. What I do recommend doing is we have parenting. Okay, that's interesting. So let's click down. We see baby. So again, a lot of people select baby. No. Keep drilling down as far as you can go. So we were selling baby products. Let's keep drilling down into baby. We have baby gear. This is interesting, baby gear. Baby technology. That's interesting. So let's say we're selling some kind of baby tech product. Then this would be perfect for targeting. Now keep in mind, people interested in maybe diaper bag, in natural baby products, in stroller, maybe some of these other categories here, baby feeding, breastfeeding, things like that. You could still be interested in our product as well. So you want to I recommend kind of targeting multiple interests, or really they're kind of sub-interests or sub-interests. Again, one per ad group. So we're setting up, and I'll show you how to duplicate ad groups in another video. So for this, we're just going to select one. So whichever interest is most relevant to our to whatever we're advertising, that's what we're going to select. So in this case, that will be where was it? Baby. I'm just making this up, but we're selling a baby tech product, so baby technology. Okay, great. So just one, perfect. When we duplicate our ad group, which I'll show you how to do in another video, then what you'll do is when you duplicate the ad group, everything will be identical except for the interest. So what you'll do when you duplicate is you go, okay, what's another interest that's highly relevant to my product or to whatever I'm advertising? Let's say it's natural baby products. Okay. So what I'll do is I only want to make sure one's selected. So I'll unselect baby technology and select natural baby products for my other ad group. And then for my third ad group, if I want to have three, then maybe let's say diaper bag. Duplicate the ad group. get rid of natural baby product and target diaper bag, etc. Right? Every ad group for your interest campaign has one interest. Should be pretty straightforward, and it'll make more sense when I show you the video on how to duplicate. But for now, just choose the interest that is most specific to your whatever you're advertising. Okay, so that's for your interest campaign. All right, but let's pretend right now we're not setting. We've already done our interest campaign. We're good. And we want to set up our keyword targeting campaign. Then what we will do is we'll leave all this blank. If this is for our keyword campaign, we'll leave all this blank. We'll scroll down. And we want to focus on this section here. As I said before, in order to target keywords with Pinterest advertising, which is really, really powerful, you want to have at least 25 keywords, okay? So I've already shown you how to identify a huge list of highly relevant, high profit potential keywords. You're going to take that list that I've already shown you how to create. You're going to go here into this section, you're going to paste. So it might look something like, keyword 1. Obviously it would be that, or I guess it would be like baby tech product, or whatever it might be, right? Whatever the keywords are. And just kind of entering all the keywords in here. This is also where you'll enter in, if you're using negative keywords, okay? Just as a refresher, for negative keywords, it's just a negative sign and then the keyword. So negative, so let's say like blog. Okay, so negative and then blog. And we can actually see, scroll down here, that I highlight, right below the keyword targeting section. Pinterest actually defines, we have broad match, phrase match, exact match, negative phrase, or negative exact. So we want to make this negative exact, so we'll have brackets before and after. Or actually, no, sorry, we want phrase match because by targeting negative phrase match, that means that if someone types in like baby tech products blog, baby tech products maybe let's say like reviews, okay, or other keywords like this. If reviews are in the phrase that they're searching, or blog is in the phrase that they're searching, or video, or whatever it might be, people are searching for information, not for our product. And we want to drive sales, not people just looking and browsing. So I'm going to add maybe some negative keywords in here, which again, we've already discussed just kind of as a refresher. So negative phrase match blog, negative phrase match reviews, because I don't want anyone who's looking for blogs or reviews, I don't want my ad to show up for that. I don't want to waste clicks on that. Because they could think, oh, I typed in, baby tech blog, and my pin showed up and they just click just because they click. They get to my landing page, they get to my website, they're like, oh, no, I'm not interested in this, I accidentally clicked on this, and they click out. And I just wasted money on that click. That's the reason for it. So here is where you're gonna enter in all of your keywords that you're targeting and all the keywords that you're not targeting through negative targeting. So negative keywords and all your other keywords, they'll just go in here. Minimum of 25 here. Pretty straightforward once you do that. Right, either one of those sections, either the keyword or the interest section. Once you do that, then the next process will be the exact same. That was probably the most complicated, but shouldn't be too difficult at this point. Here you can select specific genders. Obviously, if your content, if your product, if your pin specifies to a very, very specific gender, choose that gender. Otherwise, leave it as all. For ages, especially if you're selling something, what I like to do is pick specific ages. If it's anything alcohol related as well, keep that in mind. Then you need to do 21 plus, of course, or anything else like that requires a little bit older. So kind of keep that in mind. Generally, I almost always uncheck 18 to 24 unless my product or ad specifically relates to that, and that is because most 18 to 24-year-olds, their stage of life, they don't have a lot of money, right? They probably are getting money from their parents. Again, there's certain cases where this isn't true, but generally, maybe high school, college, they don't have a lot of disposable income. So if I want to ultimately generate sales from them, even if it's through subscribers, right, and getting people to subscribe to my email list, those might not be the best quality subscribers. So again, of course, if your product or ad appeals to a very specific age group, select that age group. Otherwise, don't just leave it as all. I recommend unchecking 18 to 24-year-olds in general. Next, you're going to pick your specific locations. If it's just the United States, leave it as all US locations. If maybe it's the US and Canada, then what you want to do is pick the United States and Canada, which is pretty straightforward. Once you pick some, you can go ahead and go through here and pick specific locations. So go ahead and we'll select Canada. If you want to drill deeper as well, you can go to specific metros or specific regions. Okay, so there's like metro areas that you get really detailed targeting, which is kind of awesome. Depending on some of your objectives, that might make sense. For me, usually doesn't make that much sense with my e-commerce business. Also regions. So for example, the province of British Columbia, maybe I just want to target that region in Canada for whatever reason. So you can get pretty detailed or keep it broad. Either one, that's how you do it. Depends on your objective and you know best. Next, we have languages. I like to, if my pin is in a specific language, I like to make sure that I select that language for my targeting. So you want to unselect all. And in my case, my pins are in English. Now, if language isn't a big factor for you in terms of the purchase or in terms of the result that you're trying to get, then you can just leave it as all languages for that territory. But for me, I almost always choose a specific language because my pins are in a certain language, my landing page is going to be in a certain language, so I only want to target. And the reality is the majority of people, for example, in the United States, that I'm targeting, or a huge percentage of them, are going to be speaking English, right? There's obviously a decently large Spanish population. If I'm targeting Canada, there's a large French population. But again, whatever my pin and my landing page, the language of that's what I want my language to be. So again, pretty straightforward, right? Not too difficult. Devices, for now, leave it as all devices. Still testing this, and if I have any updates, I will let you know. But for now, I'm leaving this as all devices, and it's working well. For placements, I leave it as all placements. You can choose between browse or search. So for browse, we go ahead and hit this. Pinterest states that your ad will appear as people browse through their home feeds, right? So they're just kind of browsing, they're on their home feed, they're not really searching for anything in particular, where with search, so your ad or your pin that you're promoting will appear in the search results when someone actually searches something. So in general, I leave it as all because, for example, if someone's typing a specific keyword, I want to be, no matter kind of when they kind of type in that keyword within that vicinity, I want to appear, and I don't really care if that's in browser search. Okay, so that's kind of a keyword. Also with interest-based, right? If I know that they're interested in this topic, I don't really care between browser search too much. However, again, something that I'm considering testing, and if I come up with anything new, I'll let you know. But for right now, just leave it as all. There's a lot more, in my view, a lot more important aspects to focus on. And this one isn't as big, although it could have an impact, but I'll test and let you know. This one is very important. You want to make sure this is unchecked. This is kind of sneaky that Pinterest does this. You have the option, it's the default, to use your pin to expand your targeting. So basically, Pinterest, and you can click here to learn more, but basically, keeping it simple, Pinterest will analyze your pin as well as your landing page, and I believe maybe even some related pins that you've created in your account. and it'll understand your pin, understand some of the language that you use, your categorization, all of that, and use that to expand your targeting. So that means target more than the interest that you select, target more than the keywords that you select, and basically what it's going to do is Pinterest wants to waste your money. They want to spend your money, and they don't really care if you get results because they're making money. So what they're going to do is take your money, and they're going to go find random people basically on Pinterest that are somewhat related to what you're advertising, find them, show your ad to them, and it might get some clicks and things, but it's not going to be really relevant. It can ultimately waste your money. I found that it definitely wastes your money. So I would recommend leaving this unchecked. Otherwise, you're giving up control to Pinterest, and you're basically giving control to an organization that just wants to take and spend your money. They don't care about results. I care about results. I hope you do too. And if that's the case, leave it unchecked. But it's the default that is checked, so you want to make sure you manually uncheck it. Next, you'll set your daily budget. This is for the ad group. So what you can do is you have your campaign budget. So let's say your campaign budget is $10, and you have 2 ad groups. Then what I recommend doing is you can either set both ad groups, one ad group to 5 and the other one to 5. So 5 plus 5 equals 10, right? So you have one ad group is 5, ad group number 2 is 5, that adds up to 10. Your campaign budget is 10, they equal, right? So that's you want to make sure that your total ad group budgets equal your campaign budget. So if you have one ad group and your campaign budget is $10, then you want that to be 10. If you have 3 ad groups and it's $10, then something like $3.33 or $3.34. All right, that's just kind of pretty straightforward. Or if you have 5 ad groups, it'd be $2 per ad group. So in this case, let's say we're ultimately going to create 5 ad groups. We'll keep $2 a day. And keep in mind, you can set it up this way, or you can set it up a different way, where you have certain ad groups have a higher daily budget and other ad groups have a lower daily budget if you want one ad group for whatever reason to spend more. Usually, right off the bat, I have them pretty equal. However, as time goes on, over the next 30 days, over the next 60 days of setting up this campaign, if I see that one ad group is performing a lot better than another, I might reduce my ad spend for one of the ad groups and increase it for another to where my campaign budget is the same, but it's being allocated, it's being better utilized, and I'm putting more money toward the winners and less money toward the losers, and ultimately my overall campaign performance is going to improve. So something to keep in mind, a little bit more advanced, but hopefully that makes sense. But keep it simple. Your ad groups should add up to the total daily budget that you want to spend. Really straightforward. This is another really important section, okay? And we're almost done, I promise. You don't have to hear my voice anymore. We have the bidding section. Pinterest automatically chooses automatic bidding. This is not good. Basically, you're telling Pinterest, hey, Pinterest, literally, here's my credit card, go spend whatever you want. So it's like, dad to his daughter, hey, here's a credit card, go spend whatever amount you want. There's no cap. You're doing the exact same with Pinterest. And I found that Pinterest is not official with your budget. They're going to go ahead and just, your bids could be very, very expensive and not worth it, very unprofitable. So what you want to do is select a custom bid. So go ahead and click on custom. And the thing is, and I'll go ahead and show you, by 9 cents here, that your bid should be at least 10 cents. Okay, so there is a minimum bid on Pinterest of 10 cents, which by the way, for most objectives is very, very low. So what you want to make sure you do, what I like to do, is I like to bid at least usually 12 cents to 50 cents. So if you want to be a little bit more conservative, start off at about 12 cents with your bid. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, maybe start more toward 50 cents for your initial bid, okay? And the reason for this is I've done a lot of testing, especially with a lot of e-commerce, and I know there's a lot of people here in this course who are specifically e-commerce sellers, which is why I want to call this out. And in my kind of price range, I found that 12 to 50 cent bids tend to perform fairly well, but it really depends on your objective, what you're advertising, all of that, so just kind of keep that in mind. It's not just a blanket statement. You have to know what's right for you, and I've already talked about that in previous videos. But my reason for kind of starting off at 12 cents is Pinterest has a 10-cent bid minimum. So what does that mean? That means a lot of people are going to Pinterest and they're bidding at 10 cents. And then there's also other people who come in and say, okay, a lot of people are bidding in at 10 cents. If I bid at 11 cents, then I'm going to be a little bit above them and beat them. Well, guess what? We're going to bid at 12 cents because we're going to beat the people who aren't taking this course. They have no idea how to advertise online or on Pinterest. And they're just kind of setting the default because they just hope to get profitable ads. So they set 10 cents. And then we're also going to beat the people who think that they're smart and are bidding at 11 cents. So usually I'll bid at like 12 cents as a minimum because I'm beating out all those other people by 1 or 2 cents. So it's not that expensive, but I could get a lot more impressions and sales ultimately and clicks by doing that, up to around 50 cents, depending on my product, my objective, and all of that. If you want to start, I would recommend starting low at 12 cents and waiting a week. And then after a week, if you don't see that many clicks, that many impressions, maybe increase it by to 15 cents, and then to 20 cents, and then to 25 to 30, and so on, once a week, or maybe twice a week at most. Until you start getting more clicks, more impressions, more sales. And once that kind of happens, I'll show you how to optimize your campaigns to ultimately improve your profitability more and more and more every single week, every single month, getting better and better and better results. That's kind of my overall advice. Again, I didn't want to say it depends, which most people do, because no one wants to give a hard number when it comes to bidding. But this is just an overall starting point that I would recommend, my reasoning for why. Okay, so 12 to 50 cents, maybe kind of as a starting bid. For pacing, go ahead and select standard. Accelerated just means, let me look at that. I've never used accelerated. It's basically to kind of push it faster. They could make sense if you're on a deadline or something like that, maybe accelerated, but generally, I only ever use standard. And lastly, we've now gone through our campaign, our ad group section, and the last section is our ad section, where we're going to select the pins that we actually want to promote. The whole point we're doing this, right? Our promoted pins. So what you can do is you can either select one pin or more than one pins. So what I like to do, as I stated before, is select 2 pins per ad group, okay? And what that means, and the reason for that is, I want to see which pin is ultimately going to get better results. And you'd be shocked by even small changes in colors, changes in fonts, a video versus an image, a white background image versus a lifestyle image, and all these other kind of factors, that one pin, for whatever reason, can perform so much better than another pin, even though it's very similar. So because of that, if you're not testing which pin is going to be better, you'll never know. And you could basically test and use a pin that's not very good and never know that it's not good, right? That's the whole point. Is basically you don't know what you don't know. That's why we're testing. So I recommend selecting 2. So what you can do is just scroll through here. Again, this is just my kind of example account. I just use this a little bit for testing and for example purposes. So let's say we're going to just select this one here and this one here, right? Boom, boom, we selected them, ready to go. Once you select the 2 pins that you want to advertise, go ahead and click on launch. And then once we hit launch, you're ready to go. Your campaign has now been set up. And then from that point on, we'll dive in a little bit deeper into the reporting and the optimization side of things in your advertising dashboard. And just a quick reference for you, if you want to kind of go back and check on your advertising data and reporting, you'll go to ads in the top left corner and click on reporting. And that will take you to the reporting section dashboard with all the data. And I'm going to dive in a lot more deeper in another upcoming video, which I'm still working on. And hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about this, let me know. But hopefully it's pretty straightforward. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the next video. So what you want to do first, of course, is log into your Pinterest business account. In the top left corner, under ads, so go ahead and click on that, select reporting, and it'll take you to the screen that actually we're already on. And once you're on the screen, what you want to do is kind of scroll down to the bottom left side where you see kind of your campaign names. Okay? And again, if this is your first campaign, you only have one campaign option, of course, but you may be running multiple. So what you want to do is just go ahead and select the checkbox which campaign you would like to add a second ad group to. Okay? So once we have that selected, we're going to hover up here to where it says add groups for one campaign. Go ahead and click on that. So you're going to have a campaign, ad group, and then ad level. So we're clicking on, we're selecting the campaign, clicking on add group. Once we are here, okay, we've already created our first ad group. Go ahead and select, just like we did with our campaign, we're going to go ahead and select the checkbox in the left-hand corner. And once we're there, we're going to actually hit the duplicate button. And what this is going to do is, quite simply, it's going to duplicate this ad group. But what's great is we can actually make some changes before it's duplicated. So when we duplicate, we can create a different campaign, add this to a different campaign, add this to a brand new campaign, or add this ad group to the campaign that we're currently in. We want to keep it within the same campaign. So same campaign, that's why we're doing this. Otherwise, we create a whole separate campaign. Number of copies, in this case, it's just going to be one. I'll move my head. Go ahead and hit duplicate. All right, and then for the ad group name, think about what makes this ad group unique from the other ad group, right? So, for example, in one ad group, if you're testing exact match type, where this ad group you're testing phrase, then make that clear. So you put a phrase match ad group, for example, or exact match ad group if it's a specific interest, whatever. It's again for your organizational purposes. There's no really right answers. Whatever helps keep this best organized for yourself. What I like to do is have kind of a campaign name and then dash. So maybe it's Amazon FBA Udemy course. And then we'll say phrase match, okay, or whatever your differentiator is there. So go ahead and rename for organizational purposes. And everything here, you don't have to redo all the steps. Everything here will be filled out for you, meaning, so whatever you created for your first ad group, whatever, interests and targeting and keywords that you selected, that will be present here. So all you need to do is just change the section that you want to change, right? So just go to that section specifically and change. So again, it's going to depend on what you're doing. I do have some sensitive info in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down. And again, so if it's, if you want to change let's go here, and only do US locations maybe, then we would do this, all US locations. So maybe you want to A/B test between that. So all US locations if you wanted to, whatever it is, just make a change, which is really simple to do. Then you scroll all the way down to the bottom like I'm doing. Everything looks good. Go ahead and click on review copies. So we click on that. And then we say, okay, we're going to add this one new ad group to this campaign. Are we ready to go? If we are, we go ahead and click the red create ad group. If not, we'll hit cancel because, and since I've already kind of done this, I'm just using this for example, I'm going to hit cancel. But you would just go ahead and create that ad group to where now you'll have one campaign that has two different ad groups. And as you spend more budget and as time goes on, you'll see which campaign actually performs better. One might get significantly more clicks, more results, maybe a lower cost per click, or whatever it might be over time. And you'll start to see that as time goes on. But it will take some time and some budget to be spent. But very straightforward, pretty simple. If you have questions about this, let me know in the Q&A section. And let's go ahead and get into the next video. In this video, we're going to cover tracking your advertising results. So basically at this point, we've set up our campaigns, we're starting to spend some money, and now we want to see, okay, Summer, are my advertising campaigns working or not? And here's how we're going to find out. Now, quickly before I get into this, the reason I'm using this strategy method is because unfortunately, with Etsy, as of right now, they provide very limited analytics and data in regards to paid advertising, just marketing in general. Now, they're continuing every year to evolve their analytics platform, and I'm really hopeful that they'll have much more robust and in-depth analytical features to better gauge advertising performance. I mean, if that does happen, or when it happens, I should say, you can expect that the course will be updated with a more kind of advanced method and ultimately a better method. However, because it's fairly difficult to track, we're going to keep things simple and use this method. This works. There's a lot of companies that actually use this exact method for a lot of their advertising anyway. So it's still, you're able to track your results. It's just not as in-depth with Etsy as of right now, but hopefully that changes. So I just want to get that out of the way. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get to the sheet. So as always, I provided a free Google Sheet template for you to access. You simply will go to File and then scroll down to Make a Copy, and you can go ahead and make a free copy for yourself. And essentially, what you want to focus on is the orange or these kind of yellow highlighted cells, okay? This is where you're going to input information. And basically, again, it's pretty simple, but it's all here for you. We want to see basically how much profit were we generating before we ran ads, and then ultimately how much profit are we generating after ads. Hopefully our profit is increasing after running advertising, otherwise our advertising isn't working. And as you can see at the bottom of this sheet is labeled Product 1. So what I recommend doing is you can do this kind of one sheet and just entering kind of the average for all of your products, but I would recommend segmenting this out product by product. Again, that's why I recommended earlier in this module that you select your top performing either product or products to advertise. So that's what I recommend doing, and we'll explain why that's the case. But generally, the more granular you get, certain products may be profitable, others may not with your advertising, where if they're all lumped together, they all might seem profitable or they all may seem unprofitable. possible. So the more granular we get, we can kind of like tweak things. Okay, turn this off, turn this one on, right? And then ultimately, again, like I said, it may take a month or a couple months before, just iteration, before you really start seeing some great results. But I've seen a lot of Etsy advertisers, even with some of our own campaigns, take off right from the start within like week 1. Okay, so first, we have our first cell here. Simply enter in your product's profit margin. In this case, we'll say 30%. Again, that is basically your revenue minus all expenses except for advertising expenses. Again, because we're going to include our advertising expenses here. So just make sure you're not adding your advertising expenses twice. It's just your profit margin before advertising. Okay, that's what goes here. Number 2, we have our revenue per month pre-advertising. So many of you at this point have already been selling for at least some amount of time. I recommend at least selling for at least 30 days before running advertising, just so you have a baseline. But it depends on your goals. You may think, hey, Summer, I really want to just scale up as quickly as possible. Then feel free to do that. It's completely up to you. And I know that the majority of the case here is that a lot of Etsy sellers are kind of like, hey, let's see how far I can get organically before I advertise. So they've been running for at least a month and use that at least 1 month of data. If you have more than that, that's great. Just if you've been selling for a year, take that year's worth of revenue data that you have for that product and divide by 12, and then you'll have the revenue per month. This is not profit per month. This is revenue per month. And then based on our profit margin, we automatically have a profit per month here, right? Because 30% of 500, here is our profit per month. Okay, so pretty simple. So profit, revenue per month, and then we want to look at the revenue for the past 30 days. Specifically, revenue for the past 30 days of running advertising. Like I mentioned before, I recommend running any kind of ads, especially with this strategy where we're kind of having very low bids and budgets, to wait at least 30 days to have enough data that we can kind of analyze. So what is our revenue over the past 30 days with advertising being run? Okay, and basically we're just going to compare the two. And in this case, right, we enter in, let's say 1,000 for this product, and the profit is $300. Okay, great. Lastly, we're going to enter our total ad spend. So how much do we spend on advertising in total? That's Pinterest ads, Google ads, maybe if we have influencer partnerships. And another thing that I'll say as well is that with Etsy advertising, you can actually see exactly, okay, here's how much I spent on Etsy ads for this product, here's how much profit I made, and we've already had that full video where I run through how to optimize and analyze your Etsy advertising results. You do not need to include your Etsy advertising here. Again, it is Etsy advertising because it's kind of but the Etsy platform advertising, right? Google ads are separate, Pinterest ads are separate, anything else, other marketing or paid marketing that you're doing, that's separate. So just make sure that the Etsy specific platform ads, you don't include those here because you're optimizing those separately. You can see the exact results there, right? And it's completely up to you if you want to just kind of say, all right, Summer, maybe I'll just try Google ads for this month and kind of see the difference. Then the next month, maybe Pinterest ads, then the next month Etsy ads, and just kind of see how they compare. You can totally do that. But usually I'll run both, and for us personally, just because we're a little bit more familiar with running paid advertising, we run all at once. And I have some more kind of analytical ways that I look at it, and I'm also willing to kind of waste more money or spend more money and potentially waste to get those increased sales. That's just kind of how I operate with my Etsy business, but I don't want you to be maybe as inefficient as I am, just because we have different goals, and I want to make sure that I'm not wasting any of your money and that it's going to maximum results. So just your total ad spend minus your Etsy ads, and then once we fill in all of these cells, which is very simple to do, we will see either the additional profit or loss. Okay, so we basically want to see, okay, are these working, right? So if we have anything, basically over $0, so if we have $1 up, to 100, 1,000, whatever, that's good, right? That's positive. That's additional profit, not revenue, but profit, real money that we're making from our advertising. Now, let's try something else out. Let's say that our revenue per month pre-ads is $500, great, and our revenue for the past 30 days, let's say it was $750. Okay, so or let's do $650. There we go. Let's say it's $650. So most people would say, hey, I was making $500 a month in revenue before I ran ads. Now I'm running ads, and I'm making $650. That's awesome, right? And I'm only spending $50. So most people would think, okay, 650 minus 50, that's 600. This month I made 600. Last month I made 500. Great, that's $100 in profit, right? No. Why? Because again, you're looking at revenue, you look at profit, okay? So we can see our profit per month before ads was $150. Our profit during ads, during ads was $195. $195 minus 50, right? We actually end up with, we're losing $5 by running ads. So we're taking extra effort and actually losing money from these ads, okay? So, and you can see that it's automatic color change. If we were to go back to the 1,000, right? If we're in surplus, this is green. And then if it's in the negative, if we're losing money on our ads, it turns red. That's all it is. So it keeps it really, really simple for you, as simple as possible. And you may think, all right, Summer, what do we do? Great, I know I entered in the data. Now I can see if my ads are working or not. Now what? What do I do? Why do I care? So there's two options, right? You're either going to be positive or negative. If you're positive with your advertising, if it's green, then consider increasing your budget. Consider targeting more keywords. So for example, if you're running Google ad campaigns, maybe add some more keywords. If you find additional relevant keywords, if you can't, that's totally fine, but maybe consider increasing your budgets and maybe slightly increasing your bids, okay? I'd recommend maybe increasing your bids by 20%. So for example, if you're bidding, let's say, $1, just making this up to keep it simple, but you're bidding $1 cost per click with your Google ads, then maybe if they're very profitable, maybe increase to $1.20, because by doing that, you actually kind of increase your overall spend for those keywords and can potentially make even more sales and profit. And again, it'll be kind of an iteration process where maybe certain months you increase a little bit too much and you need to kind of scale down. But what I'd recommend doing is, so if you're green, and especially way green, like the higher this number is that's in this green box here, the more you maybe increase bids, and definitely consider increasing budgets as well. So if you're spending, let's say, $10 a day, maybe increase to $12 or $15 a day for that specific platform, okay? So that's if it's green. Now, if it's slightly green, let's say that this here was $5, right? So we made $5 in profit, not a ton, especially for all the effort that we put in, really not a lot of additional profit. So in that case, I would recommend leaving as is, and then seeing the next month, because maybe, it was just a bad month, maybe let's kind of see what the next month is like. But if it's kind of right around zero, I'd recommend kind of leaving as is, because we don't have, it's not a lot of data to go on and say, oh yeah, let's go ahead and increase our bids and budgets. So if it's way in the green, consider increasing bids and budgets. If it's kind of closer to zero, leave as is. If it's still good because you're still generating profit, but kind of leave it as is. It's not worth the extra effort because it's not that much, and we'll see what the next month brings. And then lastly, if we get to red, so let's say we see -5, -50, anything like that, what I recommend doing first, so kind of for the next month, so we look at the 1 month data, oh, we're negative, what do we do? Go to your campaigns, this could be Pinterest, Google, and whatever else that you're doing, and reduce your bids, okay, first. A lot of people think about budgets. Budget, again, is the amount of money that you spend per day, just total, or that's your maximum amount you're willing to spend. Bids, or how much you're willing to spend per click. That's what I recommend doing first, all right? So reduce your bids. And I recommend the bigger negative you are, maybe the bigger reduction you want to make. If you're way in the red, like if you, for example, if it was negative 100 or negative 50 even, for example, I'd actually consider if it's pretty big in the red to completely turn off your ads because they're really unprofitable. Or really take another look and say, okay, maybe I need to restructure things. Maybe I was going about this the wrong way. Because it doesn't necessarily mean that the platform doesn't work. There's a good chance it means that maybe you set up something incorrectly. Maybe you were targeting broad match instead of exact match for Google ads or whatever it might be. Okay, so the bigger the red, consider turning off or just restarting. If it's a little bit closer to the red, like -5, -10, whatever, closer to 0 in that negative mark, and it's going to be dependent on, obviously this number kind of depends on how much revenue. Obviously, the more revenue you're generating, if you're generating only like $10 a month in profit, and this is -10, that's terrible, right? But if you generate $1,000 a month in profit, this is -10, that's very small. So even though -10 is the same number, for one seller it may be very small, for another seller it may be very big. So it depends on you. But it's closer to 0, like negative, close to 0, then what I recommend doing is, reducing your bids. If, for example, you're running Pinterest ads and your bids are already at 10 cents, which is the lowest, and you see, okay, I'm running Pinterest ads, they're at 10 cents, I'm targeting really highly targeted interests, right, that are super, super specific, or maybe even just one interest. I have one interest that I'm targeting on Pinterest, very, very low bid, turn off your Pinterest campaign. Because even though it's slightly negative, there's not really much more you can do. You could wait another month and just kind of let it run, see if anything changes, and that's what I would do personally because I'm a little bit more willing to do that. However, in the interest of saving you money, I'd recommend turning that off. That's just an example, okay? So just to briefly recap, fill in all the information here. If it's high in the positive, consider increasing bids and budgets. If it's positive but slightly close to 0, keep things the same. If it's negative but still kind of close to 0, then consider reducing bids, not budgets, but specifically reducing bids, and then also potentially reanalyzing your keywords or your interests that you're targeting on Pinterest and Google, and consider removing anything that may seem irrelevant. Maybe that's really not super relevant. Maybe this isn't converting really well, and then turn those off as well. If you have like one interest that's super honed in, another one that's really broad, turn off that broad one, and then see how the more specific interest performs. Okay, and then if it's way in the negative, then I would consider not just turning off and being completely done because it's likely not the platform. It could be your product, could be a number of things, but I'd recommend really revisiting and thinking, what did I do wrong? Is my listing conversion rate just really, really low? Do I need to improve my images, my copywriting? Was I spending too much? Was I targeting broad match? Was I just way too broad with my targeting in general, etc. Okay, so just kind of revisiting, and if you kind of revisit and restart everything again, it's still way in the negative, then maybe consider turning that off and look into other ways of marketing aside from paid advertising, because there are many, many ways to grow with blogging and influencer partnerships and press releases and all these different kinds of things, growing content on social media. So a lot of ways that are maybe less expensive. So maybe paid advertising isn't best for your listing at least at this time. So I hope this helps. Like I said, if things become more robust with Etsy Analytics, I'll be more than happy to go into a lot more detail on how to really analyze and get even better results from your advertising. This is the best option, the way that we use for our own products now. Hope you find it valuable, and let's go ahead and get to the next video.
Welcome to